you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Oh, you got the you have a Manufacturing Alliance hat?
This is our actual work company hat, but this is our t-shirt.
Oh,
Yeah.
Lindsay, we gotta get shirts.
You know, you got a brand. You got a brand, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, we have one. We have our little cartoon versions of ourselves that were created for us.
Your little Bitmojis.
Our little Bitmojis, yeah. Yeah. So welcome to pod. Thank you so much for joining us.
I think you guys are selling yourself short. Nobody's an expert at any of this.
Yeah. I mean,
there are levels, and we're not at one of them.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, they're professionals, right? They're professionals.
Sure.
We're not that.
I wouldn't call myself that either.
Yeah, but you guys you've had your podcast since like 2017, right?
Yeah, I think this is our third year doing it. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
It kind of started because I joined my family's business, which is in plastics, and I didn't know anybody. Like literally knew zero people, and I like to get to know people, and it was an easy way for me to get in front of people and have conversations and learn what they're doing. And the first podcast we did was with Stacy Bales, and it was great. And I told my dad what I wanted to do, and he said, "You know, she's our biggest competitor, right?" And I said, "Yeah." But that's fine, and it was great. And Stacy and I have a great relationship, and it was fun. We just kept doing it and have fun. And then I started working with Christina Fuges, and she brings the professional side. She comes prepared and knows the questions and all the things. And
see, that's what we need between us, Mercedes. We need someone with a professional attitude, but unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, at least we have SPE to pull it together for us and to edit stuff. But I was going to ask you. So it was your idea to start the podcast?
Yep.
Very cool. And you entered the industry in 2016 or
17?
In 2017. Wow. So because I think when did I enter, Lindsay? In 2016 I think. So we're like
it was 4 years on April 1st.
That's right. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you. So process is life is a straight up joke. At least my career is. So no, I love it. So do you know Jonathan Quinn? Because you said, "What's up, Tony?" With Nova Chemicals.
I may have.
This is embarrassing.
Yes.
I'm sure you know him. Yeah. And we got Kate Pellet on as well. She's interim lab manager at Peacock, which is one of my competitors. But I wanted to say, because that's so cool that you had one of your competitors on as the very first episode. I feel like this industry is so it feels so good to be in this industry because it's.
Agreed.
I mean the industry is massive, but it's like a big city small town kind of thing where you kind of know everybody and that keeps you honest in a way, right? And it keeps you, I mean, in addition to that, right, you can't misstep, you can't really, you have to be friends with your competitors because who knows if they're going to be your employer, a few months down the road, and at the same time, sorry, go ahead.
Not only that, but what, the thing I talked with my dad about was there are things that the Bales crew doesn't do that we do, and there's things that we do that they don't do. So by saying they're our competitor in one area, we're shutting ourselves off from working with them in any other way. So why not be stronger together and build relationships and partnerships with people and just grow the industry as a whole and offer more to your customers and not just be stubborn and say, no, I can't do that. I'm not gonna work with you. I'll work with anybody. I don't care. I like to build friendships and relationships. It's fun. That's why I wanted to work with you guys and have kind of conversations because you have an audience I don't have, and I have an audience that you don't have. So how do we work together to grow it for everybody?
We have to bury the competition.
Bury the competition? That's Lindsay. I don't think you're using the right terminology. She's had a long day. She wakes up at 4 a.m.
I meant if we're competitors, we have to bury that now.
I don't see us as competitors, but
no.
Well, I was making a joke, but it's a lot harder when I'm sitting on the other end of the phone.
Yeah, she has really good facial expressions sometimes. One when she's awake, and two when you can see them. But but I mean, the other thing that I say again and again, and this is even before I got into the industry, if you're doing it right, then your best competitor is your friend and confidant, and there should be, because a lot of this contention comes from insecurity.
Yep.
And I think with the old guard, where it was different, where a lot of things were shrouded in secrecy about processes or formulations, and now it's like everybody can reverse manufacture anything,
Yeah.
And so it struck me at this one event that I went to, and one of my biggest competitors, a woman very, very high up in the company, and I was like, oh, it's going to be weird that I'm, meeting her, and she was like, just very straightforward, because I'm friends with other people in her company, but she was like, everything is out and on the table here at this event, at this workshop, and we only become better by sharing with each other.
Yeah.
And it's true. It's like I'm starting to feel really confident in what I do, in that, like, yeah, I can share this appearance that I created and this trend that I'm forecasting with my competitors, and they can give me feedback, and they can say, and they're not going to jump to copy me, right? Because they are secure enough in their abilities that they can take that and build on it, or they can take that and say, well, maybe actually it's going to go this direction, but it's not going to be, oh, I'm going to do it better. It's going to be like, okay, now where can I take this?
I used to, at one of the places I used to work, we wouldn't share our process settings when we ran a new mold. And I always found that very strange, because you're not reinventing the wheel. You're not, creating some unique process. Maybe your exact settings are, but like if you're setting up, a process within a certain parameter and using like the standard scientific injection molding, you're doing something that pretty much everyone else does. It's not going to take a whole lot for someone else to figure out what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And I always found that like just a weird little like thing to hold on to.
Right.
And there's really no reason not to share with people. There's going to be a time where you may be buried and you need help somewhere, and you're going to have to turn to that quote unquote competitor and say, mm-hmm. do you guys have press time? Can you help me out with this? Mm-hmm. And it only makes you better, and it only makes them better. There's no reason for it. I mean, some of the best learning that I've had is from talking to either customers or quote unquote competitors and saying, mm-hmm. how are things going with you guys? Because this is what we're experiencing right now. Am I alone? Am I on an island? Mm-hmm. And we just have honest conversation. There's nothing to hide. There's nothing mm-hmm. to sugarcoat. It's just, trying to get better for everybody. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And really that's why we do our podcast too, to tell people stories, to get behind the numbers and all the other stuff, and just find out why people do what they do, how they got to where they are, mm-hmm. And make it more personable and having fun mm-hmm. than just how do you get ahead. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Stephanie, by the way. So another competitor of mine, it's so fantastic, so, what's really interesting to me about you, and I didn't realize this until preparing like 5 minutes ago.
Good for you. You prepared it all. I was going
to say, well,
but this was really surprising to me, because I've been in a situation where I had a completely different background. Like I said, I came into the industry, thank you, Lindsay, 4 years ago in 2 weeks.
What were you doing? What were you doing before that?
Before I was managing a digital printing company. Okay. And before that, I had done sales. Before that, my first real career was in academia. I have a language background, so English, Russian, German fluently, and then Portuguese, French, Spanish, Japanese, and then adding Danish. So,
come on.
And I'm very close to that. If you heard my French pronunciation earlier, I'm like right there.
Danny speaks some French.
I struggle with English on a regular basis, so
I can order a beer in German.
Atta girl. That's important. Those are important tasks.
What about when the competitors don't have your integrity? Well, that's a great point.
So I know Rich, and I know Rich really well. And what mm-hmm. I would say is, if my customers leave me for my competitor because whatever reason, it means they weren't my customer in the first place. Yeah, and I was lacking in doing something wrong. So mm-hmm. if whoever tries to take my customer and I lose them just because I wasn't cheap enough or whatever, I'm never going to be cheap enough. I don't want to be known that way.
Yeah.
So if they leave, they can go and we'll find somebody else. That's okay.
Yeah, we always say it's not a race to the bottom.
Right. We foster relationships with all the people that we work with, and if you don't want to be part of that, I would love people to want to, but if they don't, I mean, there's not much I can do about that. If they can leave at any point.
Absolutely. I love that. If they left, you know, then they're not your customers, right? They're not the right customer for you. And then on the flip side, it's like that's not your competitor either.
And
either. Because you have a different set of standards, you know, you have a different way that you're operating, and you are, like, just as you have identified that customer isn't the one for you, this competitor is not really a competitor of yours. They're after something different.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But what I was getting to, so, you know, I had this different career and then find myself in the plastics industry, and specifically in color. And so I'm immersing myself in this world. I get used to this world and I learn the language, right, of engineering. And then my role changes, and then bam, I'm in this world of designers, which is actually where you're from, right? You were a graphic designer.
Yep.
So tell me about that. How did you choose that path of study and then that initial career path, because you worked in that for a while, yeah? And then working in this.
Yeah, so I've always liked art, design. Growing up as a kid, I wanted to do cartoons and all that stuff. And when I went to college, I realized that. So back up. I grew up in my parents' company, in my father's company, in Alliance. And growing up, I would cut the grass and file papers and polished for a while. That was high school jobs. And he never wanted me to work there. So he wanted me to attain something better. And not that where he wasn't good, but he wanted somebody to go to college, right? And so he would always give me the worst jobs possible to make my life miserable and say, you don't want to do good in school, you always have a job, but this is what you're going to be doing. So he made me not want to work there. And it worked. I didn't want to work there. And so I went to college and got a degree in graphic design and marketing. And I love it. I love storytelling. I love the fact that everything has a story behind it, whatever it is. It doesn't matter if it's a battery or a pen or whatever it is. There's a story, and you have to be able to communicate that story. It can't just be because. Why does this Duracell battery exist? What is it that makes it better? There's a story behind it. Tell that story. And so I love that, and was drawn into design and marketing. And my first job out of school was at Ticketmaster, and that was fun. Went and saw a bunch of shows that were great. Fast forward, and my wife and I started a graphic design company because we got tired of working for the people that we were working for, and we just said, let's do it. You know, I mean, we did everything wrong. We didn't save. We didn't plan. We just said, we don't like our bosses, and they seem to be able to make it okay. The worst case scenario, we have to get jobs. We have to get real jobs again. So we said, to heck with it. We built a house, started a company, and had our first child within the first year of the company. So we did that for, she'll correct me, but 13 years, I think, something along there. 12, 13 years.
Was it her that had signed on? I saw somebody with the same last name as you.
Yep, they're downstairs. And then she corrected me and said that I started in 16, not in 17. So
hey, yeah,
it's good.
Awesome.
It's good when you have somebody that has your back and knows the answers that you don't. That's
exactly,
awesome.
like with Lindsay here.
Yeah, exactly.
4 years on April 1st.
So we had our, what was that?
On April 1st, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there she is, Kelly. Yeah.
So
hey, Kelly.
yeah. So then we had our company for a while, and then, you know, like anything else, it got harder and harder to continue to make it financially. you know, there's 99designs.com online, and there's all these overseas ways that you can have logos made and branding and everything else. And it just got too hard to compete. And along that route, I also got involved in triathlon and some non-for-profit stuff, and had a part in a nutrition company for a while. And we just weren't making any money. I mean, it's not a sob story. We weren't. And all along I was doing the branding and the marketing for Alliance with my dad. And I was talking with him, and he said, we were sitting there, and I was telling him my sob story, where we were at. And he just looked at me and he said, "You're a jackass." And I was like,
gotta love a good dad like that.
yeah. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, you're a jackass. I need you to come work here, and you won't do it for whatever reason. Jackass. And I was like, oh, okay. So I went home, and we had a nice long talk, and Kelly and I had a nice long talk, and we decided that it would be a good move to do. And I went back and talked with my dad and his partner, and we all had a good conversation and said, you know, the only concern that we have is relationships being hurt. And if it ever comes to that, we'll walk away, because that our family is really close, and that's the most important thing to us. And so we wanted to make sure that that was going to be okay. And that was 4 years ago ish, I think. And it's been awesome. I work with my dad, my mom, my brother, my uncle, and you know, we're having good success, and things are going well, and I don't regret it at all. So it's been really good.
That's fantastic. And so your family is Greek, yeah?
Yep.
Good. There's a really great like and not community, but there are a lot of like fun Greek families in Chicago in manufacturing, like the Sotos family. I'm sure you know.
Well, are you saying that just because I'm Greek? We all know each other now.
Well, no, because you're in manufacturing.
I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm just joking.
Nick and John, they get around. Everybody knows those brothers. Yeah, I'm friends with Actually, I keep meaning it's my one. Tony, do you have any recommendations on who to collaborate with to get a brand design? Well, you can probably collaborate with him.
Yeah, it depends it depends on what your budget is. I mean, we have a lot of good relationships in this area. You know, Kelly's brothers in design still, and we've got some good feelers out there, but it depends on what your budget is. It's like anything with manufacturing, right? You get what you pay for. And that was the hurdle that we kept running into, and why we got out of that gig.
Yeah. And you've had, so now actually there's so many different things I want to talk with you about at this point. Lindsay, feel free to jump in, but here's Ananya from another competitor of mine. Ananya's a friend of mine. I met her when she was getting her master's at Lowell, and she works for Poly One.
Oh, very nice.
I believe she's
friends with Ananya too.
What, your friends? Okay, yeah, I knew her before you guys knew. Did I? Okay, not important. We don't have to compete in everything. But we
have to compete all the time.
Yeah, we do. So you're both the Alliance logo that's on your hat you designed. So that's your family company. That's awesome. And then the Manufacturing Alliance, all of the design for that comes from you?
Yep.
Good stuff. That's awesome. That's so cool.
Yes.
I love it.
I don't think I have a creative bone in my body. Like, if you give me a spreadsheet, I could create you works of art. But
yeah, I don't like spreadsheets. I do not like Excel. It's not my friend. I'm starting to get better at it because I have to. But some of my favorite things are when nobody's around and I can just sit and design and work on branding and marketing and the things that we're doing. I love it. I love being able to tell that story. And like Jonathan's asking about personal brand and to leverage on social media. To me, it's do it and don't overthink it, you know?
Which is, I mean, Jonathan does a great job of that anyway.
Yeah. I never overthink that. You know, Christina will come to we'll do the shows, and I don't really prepare. I live in the ish because every time I try and prepare for something, it goes wrong. So I feel like there's no point in wasting the time to prepare. So let's just wing it. And
Yeah.
I hear you, man. I mean, I just told my story the other night about the only time I bombed a speech was when I prepared for it.
Wrote everything, well, semi-prepared. You wrote everything down and you just read it.
I prepared. I had the entire speech
but you
written out.
But you didn't have it memorized.
Well, no, because I was so nervous.
She was very nervous. I've done the same thing with a speech, but yeah. And you're just enabling her now. So this is really like
to wing it.
To take us yeah.
I mean, everything we've ever done was. I mean, you go in with a rough plan, right? Like,
right. Like an outline. That's all I need.
Yeah, my outline is usually I'm going to work, and then we'll figure it out from there. You know, when I was a scout leader for my son, it was like, we have a meeting, we'll figure it out. Like, don't overthink this, because you're going to work with 7, 8-year-olds, and they're not going to want to do anything that you want to do. So just do what you can.
Hold up, Papa Smooth 1 joined. Who is Papa Smooth 1? Because that is amazing, and that stash looks good.
Wow.
It's probably not really. You can never tell in a quarantine, like, if that's really them. But I love what you're talking about, because you were saying story, and it's very pertinent to what I was actually just texting Lindsay about. So I've started to understand the power of stories. When I was with my former company before, so I've been with Techmer almost a year. It'll be a year in June, like end of May, beginning of June. And at my former company, I realized that what I was doing was telling a story with my pallets, but I didn't realize that until I actually came to Techmer. And the vice president of sales and marketing, he's a designer, right? He won some very, very prestigious awards, and now he's vice president of sales and marketing, but he really is a designer, and he's the only designer at Techmer. And I'm design minded, but I'm not a designer. I'm not an engineer. I'm a translator, right? And so I was sitting down with him, and he started telling me about, like, well, you know, you're telling, and it just clicked. It was like, oh, I'm telling a story, and that's why it worked with my previous company. I didn't even realize what I was doing, but suddenly when I had that, people saw it and they said, oh, and it was like, okay, now we're going. Yeah. And then I had a call with our VP recently, and I was like, well, and he's like trying to center me, and he's like, hey, what you need to do is identify your strengths, because you can do. I'm all over the place. I do everything, right? And he says, but your real strength, like that is different from everybody here, is in storytelling. And he's like, you need to take this class with IDEO. So it's storytelling for innovation. And I was just texting Lindsay about it, that I was up until, I'm a huge nerd, but I was up until 4 a.m. last night doing my homework for this IDEO class.
Which is you also don't sleep, so that helps.
It helps, yeah. I don't like it. But it's just amazing, and it's like, even I'm just such a nerd, but it's a good thing. There's nothing without a story. And the reason that we started this podcast, because I wanted to get into like the goals that you had for this podcast. Yeah. Which, it's mentioned on there, but what are you drinking, by the way?
This is a Galaxy IPA from Big Brewing.
Oh, that sounds fantastic.
From what?
Big Brewing. It's pretty darn good.
Where are they at?
It's a good question. Illinois. Murfreesboro, Illinois.
Murfreesboro? Where is that even?
Haven't been there.
Same. And you're in Wakanda forever, right?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah. Is it true that people kept calling up the village hall and screaming "Wakanda forever"?
I don't know if that's true, but every time we would be out somewhere, somebody would go, "Oh, Wakanda, like the movie," and I would say, "No, it's actually the opposite of the movie. It's mostly white people and no technology." Yeah.
Oh, Central Illinois is Murfreesboro. So, gosh, what was I in the middle of? I was in the middle of a thought.
Story.
Yeah, Lindsay, do you remember?
Why am I responsible for the stories here?
Because you remember what I'm trying to say. Oh, no, but
I was filling up my wine.
when we started this podcast,
yep.
I was stuck on this idea of, it was my idea of the sad turtle, right? And how it has given this negative, just so much negative publicity for the plastics industry. And it's something that's near Scranton. Shut up. That's a joke on this Quarantini's thing. But everything's near Scranton. And I realized, and this is a fact, like people don't, it's a fact. People don't respond to facts. People don't believe facts,
Right.
Because, and that's an error that all of us, in plastics engineering make all the time. They're like trying to combat that, sad turtle, with a straw in his nose message with, here are the facts. And yes, like all of these studies say that plastic bags are better for the environment than paper bags.
Mm-hmm.
And they're facts. And
yep.
here's this, that. And people don't want to believe it because people don't believe facts. People believe stories,
They all, in facts, there's two sets of facts too, right? So it's like trying to buy a TV. There's facts about every TV, but you still don't know which one is the right one. You just have to make a decision and go with it. I remember we were at the Plastics Executive Forum a couple months ago, like one of the last things that wasn't canceled. And
you saw Russ Broom. I'm so jealous. I need to call that guy.
We were laughing because they were talking about how there's a shift to go to paper now, right? There's a shift for paper straws and paper cups and paper bags and whatever. And I don't think I'm old, but I'm old enough to remember when they would say, is plastic bags okay? Because we don't want to kill all the trees and make paper bags. So there's been a complete shift from, we want to save the trees to here's some plastic.
Yeah.
And now it's back to, can we kill the trees so that we don't have to use plastic? So then in 10 years from now, we're going to be back to, are plastic bags okay? Because we're running out of trees again.
So Kelly says, who's Jack?
That's my son.
Jack. Oh,
yeah.
That is a great quote. Jack says, facts don't care about your feelings.
Yep.
Jack is
how old is Jack? I mean, obviously,
Jack's 14.
14, but how old is his soul though?
Oh yeah, he's got an adult sense of humor.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Hey, Lindsay, your mom is on. You should say hi to your mom.
Hey, Mom.
She's
your mom's
on. It went from save the trees to save the turtles. Yeah, and now it's save the at-risk people for coronavirus, right?
Yeah, plastic's not so bad right now.
Yeah. But so part of what I wanted to do with this podcast is change that narrative, tell the stories of the amazing things that the amazing capabilities that we have because of plastics, right? Yep. And why you can't do that in a world without plastics. And
which is why the original title for this podcast was, "Hey, we like turtles too."
That was not the original title.
It absolutely was. That's how we got it approved, my friend.
Okay, so we have a long list of titles.
Hey, we like turtles too. That's not bad.
Well, I have a pet tortoise, which is so. But that was Lindsay had so many good ideas that were better than that. What was the one that I really? Oh, Good Morning Amorphous Material. That was Lindsay's idea that she keeps forgetting was her idea, but it's still my favorite.
But it is in an Excel spreadsheet somewhere.
It is. We have a Google sheet somewhere. People always need a bad guy. Sadly, it's plastics right now.
But it's not right now. Right now, plastic is the hero because you can't make face masks with paper.
Sure, but people don't realize that they're not paper. People think, people don't understand that nonwovens are plastic. People don't understand that coffee filters are plastic.
Right.
People don't understand that their glasses are polycarbonate with BPA in them. It's just like,
Yeah.
So.
Well, even one of my cousins, cousin-in-laws or whatever, posted something on Facebook, and it was like, so thankful for everyone working through this you know, time, and it called out, like, you know, obviously nurses, doctors, EMTs, you know, the legit front line in the line of fire type
and they
people.
deserve credit.
And it, sorry, what was that?
They deserve credit. I just want to make sure. Yeah.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
But then, like, it was calling out, like, you know, like, grocery, like, it went down, like, all, like, the tiers of it and everything. And she's like, and don't forget about construction workers, because they're out there, too. And while I don't disagree,
well, construction, not so much right now.
Well,
from a supply standpoint.
They could be doing the roads. I'm just going to say, in Illinois, they could be doing the roads right now.
I was like, well, don't forget about the people making all the stuff that is keeping everyone safe and protected.
Yeah.
Because that is a very essential part of all this. Not that we're putting ourselves, like, in the line of, like, the actual disease coming at our face, but
yeah, we're
making sure that we can get as much as we humanly can out to these people.
Exactly. Yeah, we're the supporting line. We're the back line to the
right.
frontline workers, you know. And it's, I mean, we've talked about it almost every night on here. It's just like, it's made me so grateful to be in this industry. Yep. And it's really empowering. I hope I haven't gotten to go to the plants, but I love going to our plants. I'm more in sales and marketing, but I spend probably 3 days a month in the plant, and I try to go whenever I can. It's like, oh, yeah, but my customer needs something on real short notice. Yeah, let me just go into the plant real quick and see what's going on and walk the floor. And I love it. And I know that we both the production workers and sales, we both gain a lot from more FaceTime, you know.
Absolutely. Because
then we care about each other, and we you know. It's a different relationship if you have FaceTime. And I forgot where I was going. Lindsay, do you remember what I was talking about?
Where your thought train was going? No, I didn't pick that one up.
Woo woo!
You know, I think
out of town.
For us, it's really exciting to work in the medical industry and work with the food and beverage and see all these new technologies that are coming out. And I wrote a blog post today about how the American manufacturing is alive and essential. It's not, you know, a couple months ago, or not even a couple months ago, before Trump, right? Everybody's saying manufacturing is dead. It's a dead end job. It's this, that, and the other thing. Well, it turns out it's pretty alive and essential. I mean, it needs to stay open. It needs to be working. We're putting a lot of people, we're putting a lot of food on the table for people, and making all the caps for the Purell bottles and the bottles and the Purell and the masks and the headbands
and the packaging for the toilet paper
and all
paper
of it.
Towels and the cans for the wipes and the bottles for the Lysol spray, like, you know.
And that's one of the things that makes me laugh too with everybody. You know, I don't want to go down a political rabbit hole, but everybody's saying, why aren't tests out? These people have no idea how long it takes to even make the packaging, much less the product itself. That's
to even get
I saw a tweet that, because I don't know if you guys know this, but Josh Gad, obviously the voice of Olaf, has been reading a children's book every night.
Okay.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, so
when
I put my son Henry down to bed, I usually read him a book, and then Josh usually reads him a book. And so I was looking at one of his tweets the one time, and it was like, you know, 300, you know, ventilators, or I can't even remember what specific item it was, but being sent to someone. And, like, all the comments were like, 300's not enough. We need more. This isn't going to help. And it was just like, do you know the time and effort and the amount of materials required to probably shift whatever that was originally intended for?
Yeah.
Right.
Shift the press time, shift the materials over to this company, probably build a mold and get all that stuff turned around to like redirect it into an entirely different product. Yeah. It's a huge undertaking, and people are just like, it's not enough.
And the material supply, right, which is my side,
right?
Because especially with my former company, the guy's other company, which I did a little bit of work in, is active ingredients for pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
And all the way up to injectables, so like very high level. And so it's like, because of that, I know how long it takes to get approved and even medical packaging.
Yeah.
It's like they have to go through like real-time shelf life test. It's like, all right, so like, so it's like, okay, they're not going to approve more than like one person for that.
Right.
And okay, now we're in this crisis, and that supplier can't provide material fast enough. They're SOL. You can't just like go out and approve somebody else like as a drop-in.
And that's the thing,
because you could put somebody at risk.
That's the thing that I think is
with ventilators,
missed,
especially.
because we're in such a I want it now society, which is, it's great. I take advantage of it. I love Amazon Prime. I am like, you know, my Wi-Fi lags a little bit, and I'm just as frustrated as everybody else. But fortunately for me, I understand what goes into making this stuff now, and you know, a package, you know, even if it's a clamshell package to house a test or whatever it is. I mean, it's got to contain it. It's got to be airtight, I would imagine, because it can't have any contaminants in it. And that has to be designed, engineered, built. You know, you got to get the materials to put it together. All of that stuff has to happen, and it's not. You can't just snap your fingers.
And the NDAs, like you're involving new. It's like, okay, now we have to send, and like, and then everybody's working from home too, and it's like, oh geez.
Yep.
Yeah. One of my bosses, because I have kind of two jobs within Techmart. I have a Midwest boss and then a West Coast boss, and so my Midwest boss that I call with today, he was saying, it came up about like being able to pay attention and getting distracted. As I was saying last night, I the whole day was like, I'm gonna cut or copy, and then I never pasted, and it's just like this, you know, and so my boss said this very great thing that was like, oh yeah, attention right now, that is the hot commodity.
Yeah.
You know, it's really it's hard, especially, you know, because your kids are at home. Yeah.
My kids are at home. Yeah, I'm back at the office, but my kids are at home.
And then Kelly, that's yours too?
Yep, that's my wife.
She's working from home as well? Or?
Yep, she works from home. She works for our church. She does all the marketing and communications and branding for our church. So she's been extremely busy as we moved everything to online and virtual. She's been extremely busy. So, but fortunately for us, we worked from home when we had our marketing company. We worked from home for the first 10, 12 years. And so we're good with that. I mean, the kids just know what they got to do, and that they kind of just fall back into rhythm. So it's good.
Cool. So you have two kids,
two kids? Yeah. So Jack and Grace.
14 and nice, good names. How old is Grace?
Grace is 10.
10.
Yeah, Rich goes to our church, and she kills it. She does an awesome job.
Cool. I don't even know. Christos Voskresin, you'd say in Russian, but you would probably guess.
Christos Anesti.
Yeah. Vasistana Voskresin. Well, I'm sure it's like what the response is like is the same in Greek, like Vasistana Voskresin.
Christ is risen, indeed he is risen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ich möchte ein Bier, bitte.
When I was 16, I was an exchange student in Germany. And on the plane over, was I 15 when I flew over? I might have even been 15 when I flew over. And I'm like, it's like me and the other American exchange students. I'm like, guys, as soon as we get there, it doesn't matter how jet lagged I am, I'm going to go to the bar and I'm going to get a beer. Yeah. So I go and I'm just like, sit down, 15, about to turn 16. I'm like, ein Bier bitte. And then the guy's like, yeah, was für ein? Like, what kind of beer? I was just like, there are kinds? I didn't know there were kinds.
That one?
Mind just...
Yeah, it's true. Like, just travel and you're like, you'll expand your whole world.
Yeah, exactly.
The world of beer. The world of beer.
Did I ever mention the time when I was in Germany, we went to the K show my senior year of college, and you know, they kind of drilled into our heads. So, like, you know, if someone talks to you, just, you know, if you need to say anything, just say Sprechen Sie English, you know, someone will probably be able to help you, blah, blah, blah. And they just kind of drilled that into our heads. And we were on a train, and it was super crowded. I don't remember what cities we were going between, but this guy, like, was asleep in his seat, and like when I got on and I sat next to him, and he woke up like halfway through, and he looked at me and he said something to me, and I said, "Sprechen Sie English?" And he looks at me and he goes, "Love, that was English." He was Australian. I was like, "Oh, sorry, my bad. I just assumed you were speaking German."
Oh my God, I love that so
I
much.
was just in Mexico earlier in the year, and we had a whole conversation about, do you learn enough Spanish to be able to ask how to go to the bathroom or where something is? And I said, absolutely not. And they asked why, and I said, because if they tell me in Spanish, I don't know where to go. So it doesn't do me any good to be able to ask where the bathroom is, because then they're going to tell me.
Right.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would probably, okay, but I'm a language person, and I would disagree with that statement. I feel like the struggle of, okay, I don't want to get into a language thing now, because I'll totally nerd out, but it's like, so when I was in China, my previous job, it was like, I learned how to ask, and I was getting it wrong, but then the struggle of trying to understand what they were, it helped me learn more.
Sure.
And when you're, I mean, like me, you came into this industry, like, and you in a way, I think, regardless of what our histories are, it keeps you humble when you have to start fresh.
Yeah.
And you start from a place of, I'm the beginner, I don't know anything, you guys know everything, teach me.
Yeah.
And it gives you an advantage in one way.
What if you've been in the industry since the beginning of college and you still don't know anything?
Well, see, that's the thing. You're saying that, Lindsay, but you know a lot, and because you are humble, I think that people are.
No, I have 2 awards and you have 1.
Okay, all right, Lindsay, hanging out. Sorry, weird connection. No, but yeah. So I mean, it's so. I make a point to any of our international customers or even our team in Mexico. I make a point to write them in their native language, because it's like, you shouldn't always have to cater to me, so I'm from San Francisco originally, and in San Francisco when I was growing up, there was our biggest industry was tourism.
Sure.
And so me and all of my cousins, in fact, 2 of my cousins, one from my mom's side, one from my dad's side right now, both work at the same hotel that me and all my cousins worked at. And it struck me that it's like, and I could always do these impressions. It's like the Germans call like 5 months in advance and like, hello, this is Jörg, and I'm calling from Germany, and I'd like to book a room for, and it's like, when? We don't even have, that's next year. Like, I don't, okay, yeah, you can have it. Yeah. And,
call back next year.
Yeah. And then the Italians will call up like, maybe like the night before or like day of and be like, do you have a room? And then the French people will not speak English to you at all. They will just go, and maybe it was because I was trying, but like they'll just like presume they're the Americans so they're the Americans of Europe.
That's what I was going to offer.
Yeah. But of American tourism, so it's like they'll just come in and they'll just start speaking and they just expect you, right? So it's like, it made me see, gosh, this comes off as like very self-centered.
Sure.
If you're in their community, why not go and try, and even though 100%, like myself included, like most Americans will go someplace and not have any clue. And most people around them are going to be able to speak some English. And so it's a better starting point, but they will recognize your humility and they will appreciate your attempts, if you try. But then you might end up peeing on yourself.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. I mean, I have a hard enough time remembering my right and left in English. Mm-hmm. Trying to figure that out in Spanish when I got to go to the bathroom and they're going to tell me turn at this and go to there. No, just point, and I'm good.
I'm bad enough at, like, I have bad hearing, so you could tell me in English and I would still not understand, as evidenced by my train story. I'm bad enough at English.
Yeah, and also if it's a bathroom thing, then maybe Lindsay and I should definitely stick to a language that we can understand. We had a whole NPE meetup that was, yeah, we ran into each other at NPE. She was with these former coworkers, right? And we run up to each other. We see each other after not seeing each other. She's like, Mercedes, I have a poop story for you. I'm like, Lindsay, I have a pee story for you.
Those are some of the best stories.
Like, yeah. A lot of my conversations go back to poop.
Oh, so many.
So many conversations.
I was trying to tell somebody about your poop, one of your many poop stories. I was trying to tell Sarah about one of your poop stories the other day, Lindsay, and she's like, I don't want to hear it. I'm like, no, listen, this is a good one. Like, this is one of my favorites.
I mean, poop stories can be some of the best stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to pick the audience.
Yeah. So your father worked for the Klingars, right?
Yep.
The Family Corp.
Yep.
You've had Chuck on twice on the podcast, is that right?
Yes.
At least?
Yes. Yeah. He was on once as a standalone with my father and Christina. And we were at my parents' house at the kitchen table, and we had like 3 bottles of wine. And then we talked with Chuck at the AMBA, as the Education Foundation for the AMBA. Mm-hmm. So I love Chuck.
I love Chuck so much.
Yeah.
I was thinking he could be, with his voice, just his personality, he could totally be like a famous like character actor.
He could.
You know? It is great. So, but we got sidetracked, which is our way. So what was it? Why did you, let me keep asking question words and not say anything.
I'm following. I'm tracking.
What?
Lindsay, you know what I'm trying to say, right? Can you just say it for me?
Yes. She means how, why?
Yeah. How, why?
Because.
Did you, why? But why? So
ladies and gentlemen, in the podcast.
So I've told you I wanted to start a podcast to change the conversation and to tell stories of the benefits of plastic. Also to show as evidence from like our using Instagram and our swearing a lot and being people that you don't typically think of as working in the plastics industry to change the and attract more young people, engage more young people and show them it's not all people who are about to retire. You know. So why, and this is like a kind of a cheat question because I've read why you started the podcast, but can you tell us why you started?
Yeah. I mean, there's 2 sides of it, right? There's the selfish side of it is it's a great marketing engine because it gets our brand out there. And by me interviewing you and talking with you, you're going to push that out to your audience, which is an audience that I don't have. So my audience automatically grows and expands and gets better. That's the selfish reason of it. The other side of it is I really like talking to people and I like hearing their stories and I like hearing where they came from and how they started and getting into who they are as people that created these amazing businesses that do all the things that we're talking about, that are dropping everything that they're doing to make protective gear and essential items and trying to find ways to keep their employees hired and paid and working and jumping through hoops to make sure everything goes smoothly. I think there's some amazing stories to all of that. And
we got Pete Camboris on here.
And
keep going.
And I just love hearing how people get to where they are and their struggles and their successes and what they're getting through. And I find that it's really encouraging to a lot of people to hear that stuff. And, some of the best stories we've ever heard, you go in with one expectation and then before you know it, you're talking about the faith in the company and why a father and son love working together and what it's done for the relationship and what married couples have been through and the struggles that they've gone through. And I don't really care about the nuts and bolts. I don't want to get into graphs. I don't care what your throughput is. I don't care what your KPI is. It's not interesting to me and I don't want to hear that. I want to get to know people as people and their journey and what they're going through. And I think that's what will continue to grow the industry and keep people interested because it doesn't matter if you're in manufacturing or I don't know, pick anything else. We have the same struggles and somebody's going to go through it in one way or another. And I just like working through it with them and figuring it out.
I love it.
Yeah, I will say I did like
hold up, Lindsay, though, because so we have 30 seconds left. So what I'm going to say, Lindsay, hang up, and then why don't you run? So we're going to quit this one live, and then Lindsay's going to take Plastchicks live, and then she'll bring you back on.
Okay.
Does that work? All right.
So complicated.
All right. No, Lindsay, just hang up, okay? And then log on.
I get the mechanics.
Okay.
I got it.
All right. So we're going to be right back in like 15 seconds with Lindsay and Tony.
All right. Part 2.
Yeah, but now we can't have Mercedes chiming in via phone or a third device because I'm not cool enough. I only have a phone. So sorry. I was going to say, I did love your episode with Dan Snyder from Plastchicks.
Yeah.
When so Dan graduated from the Penn State program a year ahead of me. And when I first, Mercedes is here. So she's joining us. But when I first moved back to Erie, so after college, I got a job in Butler, Pennsylvania. And then I got an offer for a job back up here in Erie. And I can't read the comments. I'm really bad at having a conversation and reading the comments. I'm trying to be good, but I totally derail myself.
Listen, that's because you're focused on the conversation.
Exactly.
You're all in, 100% in. Either you get all of you or none of you, right?
Very black and white, very engineer.
Got it.
But yeah, when I first moved back to Erie, I couldn't find an apartment. So I lived with Dan and his roommate, Ben, who I graduated with for a couple of months. So that was it's an interesting time in my life. Yeah. And my cat, I had a cat, and like it would go sleep in Dan's room every night. So it's very interesting. But that was side story from the first round of live conversation. Oh no, is this already?
What?
Oh, it started to spin, and normally when it starts to spin, it usually means my internet's like
You're
kicking me
glitchy.
off. Yeah, I usually try and turn my Wi-Fi off when I'm home and doing this because it's just bad. So
Yeah.
But
yeah. We'll make it through.
We'll try. We will try. So you guys, how many episodes do you guys have? I feel like I should know this, but I don't. So
I feel like I should know this.
Well, I feel better.
Yeah. You're not alone in not knowing that. I think we're probably Kylie, who does all the editing on them. She's handling our communications and our marketing now. She's doing great. She'll hit me for not knowing the exact answer, but I think it's probably around 60,
Wow.
70, something like that.
So you guys are really pumping them out. Do you guys only do them when you and Christina are in person, or do you try and like do virtual ones?
No, I've only done one virtual podcast recording. Was with Vision Laser in Germany. We used some of their equipment, and we wanted to talk about the equipment and what makes it good and unique and how the company started. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't going to fly to Germany to do that.
I would have. But...
I just didn't want to. The podcast doesn't have the money to fly to Germany. Let's be honest.
So the budget was just a little bit smaller than anticipated.
Yeah, there's not much of a budget there. Given the choice, I would rather be face-to-face. I like the interaction with people. I'm a little bit of an extrovert, so this quarantine is not great for me. But I like going on location to people's places. So usually Christina and I it'll be like a road show. We pack up the microphones and everything, and we go to their location. We get a tour. We see what's going on. We're there for a few hours, and we knock it out.
No, you're way more high budget than us.
It's not. No, it's like $4 $50 microphones, a little mixer, and we buy stuff along the way. A couple things here and there. A couple tripods so that we can do video now. We just put our phone in the tripod, and
that's really smart. Mercedes, I hope you're making a list. Yeah, because we buy stuff, and then like the first time we tried to like use it all, it's on my computer, and my computer's old and dusty. I don't know why we started with that, and it was a mess. You can set one up at Nova. Oh, see, there you go. Look it, you already
I'd
have an
love
offer
to.
at
Let's
Nova.
do it. But we got to wait till the zombie apocalypse is over.
Gotta clear the zombie apocalypse. Although Pennsylvania did not extend their
They
stay-at-home
didn't.
order today, so
That's
they
good.
didn't. They didn't set any like ease ups or whatever they're calling them, but they didn't extend it. And our governor is pretty chummy with Cuomo in New York, and they just extended theirs until May 15th. So it was
Okay.
assumed that Pennsylvania would go May 15th too, but they didn't. So
That's good.
there
That's
you
a
go.
plus, right?
A step in the right direction.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Who knows
It
anymore?
doesn't hurt to stay open. That's always it's a positive.
Right? Yeah, and I will say I was um, I took kind of like an informal poll of a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Mostly just, I was kind of looking for information for something totally unrelated. And as we were saying last night, a lot of people seem to have faith that, end of like the summer, early fall, things will start to at least, feel a little bit more normal, or the
Yeah.
most normal they have in a while.
The new normal.
Yeah. And like, not that that necessarily means everything will be back to normal, or that it's fine, or that like they're predicting anything, because they don't know anything more than like you or I, or none of the governors know anything more. But it was nice to hear that, because I feel like it's a little bit of like a sigh of relief.
Yeah, it is. I think it's stressful with the unknown of everything.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are just, in general, they want to know what's going on, and this is a thing where nobody knows what's going on. Even the people that think they know what's going on don't really know what's going on, because it's new and it's fluid and it keeps changing. So, what do? I mean, you just kind of plug along and live in the ish and do day by day and see what's going to change. And whatever it does, and you just don't know. So there's no point in stressing out about it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and it's funny because, it's just the only time I get stressed out, we were saying last night, like my sister's getting married in August.
Yeah.
And I hear all these people like canceling their weddings and like, funerals being limited or not, or virtual. A woman at work, her grandma died and they had to watch the funeral. Like, she's like, I have a Zoom link for my grandma's funeral. Yeah.
That sucks.
And like
Mercedes says that the woman who gave the Pantone webinar yesterday started crying.
Oh,
See,
yeah.
that's ridiculous. You should not cry about that. And that's just biblical, right? You can't biblically, you don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow has enough worries for its own. Just focus on today. Get through today.
That's true.
That's
and
it.
As much as it may stress you out, unless there's something you can do about it, unless you're holding on to some secret vaccine.
You're not.
Yeah, step back. I mean, if you're holding on to some secret vaccine, you're being a real dick right now.
Yes. Or you're hoarding it for yourself in case somebody in your family gets sick, but still being a dick. I don't approve. I don't approve of that message.
At least show one doctor.
Yeah. Let them duplicate it, right?
Yeah, just get a couple of duplications. We need to cry sometimes. Oh, trust me, Mercedes, there's been a lot of crying, a lot of wine. I have a beer box shipment tomorrow. Pretty excited. Nice. So I don't know, some targeted ad. I was like, yep, you know me. So I have that coming. Get my wine shipments. It's all right.
You can cry, you can wail, all that stuff, but it's not going to change your situation. So
unless you're getting a speeding ticket.
Yeah. Even then, though, lately I got pulled over a few times, and I just found like being honest with the cop, like, listen, I screwed up, man. I'm sorry. And let me go.
Yeah. I've tried all the methods.
Can you cry on command?
Oh yeah, I can cry on command. it takes me like a second to work it up, but like if I get pulled over, I can start hyping myself
The
up.
anxiety gets going,
you just concentrate for a second. You think like, oh God, my dead dog, and then you just ramp it up.
Girl tricks. Those are girl tricks. I don't think that works for men.
Well, because the first time I ever got a speeding ticket, I didn't realize what I was pulled over for. Like I was 16, 17. I really had no idea. And I didn't cry. And I didn't even know enough to like, until he handed me the speeding ticket, I didn't realize what I'd been pulled over for. And I was so flustered. So ever since then, I'm like, go in with a plan. Like I've been pulled over while I'm pregnant. And so my go-to with that is, I'm sorry, I just have to pee. Like I've always got one in the back of my head, just in case.
I like how you are so organized that you have a plan for being pulled over.
Listen, but
good for you.
It works out. So
good for you. That's some serious planning. You're like Leslie Knope with you got binders and all kinds of stuff, don't you?
That is not the first time I've been compared to Leslie Knope. Yeah. Leslie Knope or Selena Meyer from Veep. Those are basically my two remember?
You were pulled over.
We were so Mercedes came to visit me and I was pregnant. See? I was but
then you had pregnancy brain, so it's not entirely your fault, right? That's a thing. True. I hear.
Well, and I didn't get pulled over for anything that I did because, and I know that sounds like a a pass in the buck situation, but I took Mercedes and my older son and my husband. We went to was I pregnant? I had to have been pregnant. I don't know. I was driving. I must have been pregnant. And we had just bought, I was pregnant. We just bought our new car. And in Pennsylvania, when you switch the plates, if it goes from we had a truck and it went to an SUV, and the dealer was supposed to like get us new plates, and they did not. So the plates said truck on them. Who knew?
So that's what you got pulled over for?
And they sent the plates to our old apartment because somebody biffed our address. And so she pulled us over, and Mercedes in the back, and she's like, "Why is she taking so long?" And I'm like, "Mercedes, shush!" Like, but she also kept my son entertained while we were pulled over. So we got pulled over on my road. So, but we didn't get the ticket or anything.
We got pulled over one time. We got the ticket. We were on a long bike ride through Tennessee, but we had to drive to Tennessee first, and we had a huge conversion van with 10 bikes on the outside of it. And it was ridiculous. The van didn't smell good or anything. It was bad. It was a bad thing. And the cop pulled us over, and we deserved the ticket. We were making really good time. And the guy that was driving got out of the car, and the cop was on the thing. "Get back in the car." One of the guys had to go to the bathroom really bad, and we were trying to find a gas station. And so he's just sitting in the car trying to pee. He couldn't pee. And finally, he rolled down the window and just yelled back to the cop, I got to just go to the woods. It was not the Blue Ridge Mountains. It was, you got pulled over for?
And they sent the plates to our old apartment because somebody biffed our address. And so she pulled us over, and Mercedes in the back, and she's like, "Why is she taking so long?" And I'm like, "Mercedes, shush!" Like, but she also kept my son entertained while we were pulled over. So we got pulled over on my road. So, but we didn't get the ticket or anything.
We got pulled over one time. We got the ticket. We were on a long bike ride through Tennessee, but we had to drive to Tennessee first, and we had a huge conversion van with 10 bikes on the outside of it. And it was ridiculous. The van didn't smell good or anything. It was bad. It was a bad thing. And the cop pulled us over, and we deserved the ticket. We were making really good time. And the guy that was driving got out of the car and the cop was on the thing. Get back in the car.
Oh,
one of the guys had to go to the bathroom really bad, and we were trying to find a gas station. And so he's just sitting in the car trying to pee. He couldn't pee. And finally, like, he rolled down the window and just yelled back to the cop, I gotta just go to the woods. Can I? It was not the Blue Ridge Mountains. It was, what was it? It'll come to me. We'll talk about something else and it'll come. Hey, Cal, if you're still listening, can you bring me a phone charger?
This is what I do when Danny listens. I always ask him for more wine or more beverage.
Yeah, the phone charger is going to be key. Either that or I just got to run and get one. So we'll see if she hears me.
Well, we won't keep you too much longer, I was going to say. Because I am usually poorly prepared too. And, I'm not quite at my 15%. Normally I'm a lot...
I'm right about there.
Yeah, I'll say, normally my phone right about now is like, you're basically dead. But
this will be like a Russian roulette to see whose phone dies first, and then it'll just cut.
First.
It'll just cut.
Yeah, we stake pink slips on it. On the tip of the podcast. I don't know. I've been watching too much movies. But yeah. Anyway.
How did you guys get involved with Antec and with SPE?
Well,
not you guys, you ladies. That's politically incorrect and rude, and I'm sorry.
But you know what? I'm a you guys kind of person too.
Good.
Like, you guys. It's a collective, guys. Guys with a Z if you want it to be spelled that way. If that makes you feel better.
It doesn't mean that I think you're a man. It's just
It's just a collective.
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, I call people critters too. I don't believe they're actual like woodland animals. That's not what I think. But yeah, so Mercedes was an NGAB, probably from the year before me, 2 years before me, probably at least two years before me.
Okay.
Now we have all the groupings that she's listing now. Yins, y'all. Yins is a very Pittsburghese.
I don't know that one.
Yins is Pittsburgh. Yeah, it's gross.
What does that refer to?
Like, Yins guys come over here and...
Really?
Yeah, like if you're from Pittsburgh, you're a Yinzer. Not my favorite.
I see. I like y'all. Y'all is easy.
Y'all I can do. And my dad's family's from South Carolina. So, like, I feel like I lean into, like, a couple of those southerny words. Y'all's one of them.
Yins can't mean y'all.
It technically
then you just say y'all.
But it's because Pittsburgh, they just throw this, like, gross accent on things. I'm sorry. I love Pittsburgh, but it's gross.
Sounds like it. You're really selling that.
I know, right? It's just the Yins. I don't buy it. I don't buy the, like, red up your room and wash and ugh.
There's no R.
And yeah, like, I don't know. There's a whole collection of words that I would just delete from the Pittsburghese. But yeah, so Mercedes was involved in NGAB. I've been involved in, like, local chapters and stuff like that, but and I joined the injection molding board of SPE. I don't know. Unless Mercedes is keeping track, I don't know how many years I've been on that board. And then there 2 years ago now. No, it has to be 3 years. I was asked if I wanted to join the executive board to fill a position.
Yep.
And I said, sure, why not? And so I filled the vice president of young professionals. And so, you know, being on that board, you know, I'm at, like, executive board meetings, talking with CEO, talking with Sue and Nikki, who does a lot of all of SP's marketing and communications, that kind of stuff. And one time we were meeting and I was just coming off a conversation with Mercedes about how we should start a podcast called Hey, We Like Turtles Too. because that is the initial name that I threw out to SPE when I proposed doing it, because if they wanted to sponsor us, then that would be lovely.
I think that if you guys make T-shirts, that's what it should say.
Right? Well, I mean, if you notice our on our Twitter page, I think the cover picture is actually a picture of like a turtle in front of a bunch of straws.
Okay.
Mercedes found that, so it was brilliant, I will say.
Yeah.
And yeah, and the CEO, Pat, loved the idea, and he's like, absolutely. He's like, whatever you guys need, we're here to support you. We think it would be fun. Mercedes and I recorded a couple episodes, not really knowing what our voice was going to be.
Sure.
Initially, we started off doing like historical stories. We were just
Sure.
going to like pick a material or pick like something and tell the story about it, and sent them over. And the feedback we got was basically like, those are a little dusty. So
they were like, permission to add some spice.
Well, they were like, let's shelve those. Just straight up shelve them. I mean, I think in the one episode I was talking about like, we were talking about cellulosics, and I was talking about like how they were replacing like whalebone corsets.
Like, Mercedes just said whalebone.
Yes. Yeah, it was dusty, but we were trying to like start from the beginning, you know?
Yeah.
And then they were like, well, you know, if you want to come to Antac, like you can like officially launch there. You can interview people, kind of
awesome.
Keep that going. And that's kind of where we found our groove, because, you know, Mercedes is the better interviewer, and I'm the filler / the Ben Plastchicks for a while kind of part of it. So
okay.
I don't know. It works. I think it works for me.
I like doing those live kind of events and shows.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with mold making technology and Gardner, we had the opportunity to do live shows at NPE last year, which was fun. So over 4 days, I think we did 6 different live shows with panels of guests at the Gardner booth, and you know, that was so much fun. It's a different dynamic, and especially for me not knowing much, I got a crash course in everything from recycling to conformal cooling to,
which was what my senior project was on.
You name it, and I learned about it in those couple days, and then we had content for months of putting them out.
Well, and that's the beauty of it, is, you know, you go, and that's what was so like devastating about not being able to do Antac this year, because it was like, crap, like that's where we fill in the majority of our shows. You know, we'll try and make it work. And Mercedes has been a saint in coming to visit me to fill out the rest of our shows. Also, I was pregnant and couldn't travel like from July on last year. But, you know, that's where we get a whole ton of them. And now we have...
And Mercedes was just asking if we're heavy on mold builders. We are, to an extent, because that's the people that I have the most interaction with. But we've done shows with like an elevator company, or I think it's ECS, and they make elevator and escalator components. If it's manufacturing, I'll talk to them. I mean, I find it interesting, and I think there's so many different correlations to what we all do. But yeah, we were just at conformal cooling to,
which was what my senior project was on.
You name it, and I learned about it in those couple days, and then we had content for months of putting them out.
Well, and that's the beauty of it, is, you know, you go, and that's what was so like devastating about not being able to do Antac this year, because it was like, crap, like that's where we fill in the majority of our shows. we'll try and make it work. And Mercedes has been a saint in coming to visit me to fill out the rest of our shows. Also, I was pregnant and couldn't travel like from July on last year. But, that's where we get a whole ton of them. And now we have...
And Mercedes was just asking if we're heavy on mold builders. We are to an extent, because that's the people that I have the most interaction with. But we've done shows with like an elevator company, or the East, I think it's ECS, and they make elevator and escalator components. If it's manufacturing, I'll talk to them. I mean, I find it interesting, and I think there's so many different correlations to what we all do. But yeah, we were just at MD&M West in California, and Christina and I were able to record, I think, 7 shows in 2 days or 3 days, and
exhausting.
It was exhausting, but it was great because now we're done for a little while.
Right.
So that was nice, but I miss it.
I was gonna say, maybe tentatively we should try to plan to do a live show at MPE. I mean,
I'd love it.
I'm sure Mercedes is planning on going. I don't have any like hard plans, but I can always brag. Oh, I was like, me? I'm like, I'm trying to set up a thing for us. See, this is why I can't read the comments. But yeah, I think we should try and do that.
I think it'd be great. And it could be an entire SPE sanctioned event, because Christina and I are in the MTD division.
Well, there we go.
So we've got some synergy there, and I think it would just be good. Plastchicks. I was there.
Well, yeah. I mean, our most recent episode was with Brenda.
Yeah, I love Brenda.
Your home girl.
I love Brenda.
I know, she really is the best, but
yeah, she's great. Yeah, Plastchicks is in November. That was an okay show.
I don't know, where is Plastchicks? I was gonna say, I really thought she was just like making up I can share where the bathroom is. But can you
Westminster Tool just joined us.
Hillary?
Yep.
Hey girl. Oh, Hillspiration. Oh, I like the name. It's a good one.
She's only an hour and a half late, but she's here.
You know what? She showed up to the party, and I'm certain she has a drink in her hand, participating.
Little does she know that both of our phones are going to die soon.
I know. She's like, you guys are late, but really what she means is you guys are going on later than I intended. I planned on getting on Instagram and you guys wouldn't be here. Damn it!
She doesn't have to apologize.
No, not today.
Not Hillary.
Not today, anyway. We'll rewatch. Yeah. Is it Tool popular? Oh yeah, and I know you guys. I haven't
done that as a poll question. I don't know. Is Tool a popular band among the AMBA crowd? I'm not sure.
Maybe that'll have to be your next. You'll have to do a live poll for it. And I know your most recent episode was with Siraj, right?
Yep.
So yeah, Siraj.
Those guys are great. Courier Plastics was great.
Yeah. And Hillary reminded me, because I know we mutually know Siraj, but Siraj graduated from Barron year ahead of me as well.
Okay.
And him and I are on the injection molding board together. So we do a lot of planning, and we'll have to have a very interesting offline discussion about that. But yeah, Siraj is awesome.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun with them. And that's what I really like about doing the podcast, is getting to talk to people and hear their stories. Like I said, I mean, I'll say it a million times, because that's where you can actually get some personality out of people, right? It's when you get out of the office. When you're in the office, everybody's very serious and very business. But if you can get them out of their space, you can really find out who people are and build those relationships from the get-go, and it's great.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, it's almost 10:30. We've done an hour and a half, which is probably way longer than you anticipated.
I'm good with it. I know how this goes. Like,
right?
That interview that we did with Chuck Klingler and my dad in my dad's kitchen, it was actually 3.5 hours that we recorded, and then we had to cut it and just keep the good stuff. So we could have done 3 shows out of it. But yeah, there was a lot of good nuggets in there.
I get it. So yeah, I mean, I know my phone's at now 13%.
Atta girl.
So well, before I let you go,
and dad jokes later on. We'll have to do a sequel to this.
Yes, it'll be just an episode of dad jokes. And then we can bring on like Jonathan for that. I know he's got some. So before we go, what we like to do every night before we sign off is personal best for the day and Plastchicks best for the day.
Okay.